Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the podcast by the Sons of Technology. We have a really great episode today because we're going to be talking about all the different EdTech certifications that you can look into during the summer. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, Joe, Kyle, Joe, you guys, we just went through one of the hardest years you can ever imagine. We just want to take the summer off. We understand. We know this. But we just want you to be aware that the tools that you've discovered, the tools that you've become very good at using to engage your students, the tools that you got through the pandemic with, those tools gave you a little bit extra oomph in your pedagogical processes. So why not get certified in the tools that you're using? So that's going to be the basis of our discussion. But before we do, Kyle, guess what is happening this coming week? Do you know what's happening this coming week?
I already know, so it would be really lame for me to just spit it out. So I'm going to let you go ahead and say what's happening this coming week.
I am turning 40 years old this week, and that sounds crazy to me, right? Because it seems like just yesterday I graduated from high school. And it's strange, too, because all the graduations were happening this week. We live right in between almost all the high schools in our town, and all of the fireworks were going off every single night. And I'm like, oh, people are just starting their lives. Amazing. And I'm like, where has the last 20 years or so gone since that moment? I mean, it's like a blur. It's crazy. And it reminds me of when my grandpa used to say to me, oh, Joe, live your life, have a good time, make a difference, because in a snap of a finger, you're going to be as old as I am. I'm like, okay, grandpa, yeah, but it seems like that's actually coming true, right? I mean, 40 years old, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, my dad said something very similar to me when I was I distinctly remember it was about the time I was 16 and I, get my driver's license, whatever. And his words were, first you want to be 16 and then you want to be 18, then you want to be 21 and then you're 40 like me and you don't know where time is gone. And like you, I'm turning 40 in a couple of months as well. So we were just talking about how, you graduated in 1999 and I graduated in 2000 and we're the same age, and the difference between that and how that's weird. And like you were talking, like you were actually 17 when you graduated.
Yeah, it was very strange. Everybody was 18 or 19 right when they were graduating, and I was 17. I don't know if I started early or if I had just made the cutoff for starting kindergarten I have no idea. But I was one of the younger individuals out there, which it made me think. I was pretty good at football in high school. And I think to myself, if I had given myself that extra year, because I got in pretty good shape when I was a freshman in college, I could have imagined, what I could have done on the football field in high school.
See, and I was the opposite. I was one of the older ones in my class because I actually went to school a year late. And there's a really funny story behind that, something that I don't think it would happen today. And if it did happen today, it would just be nuts. So when my parents took me for preschool screening or kindergarten screening or whatever it was, they sit you down and have you do some different tasks and kind of just evaluate your skill set before going into school. And one of the skills that my mom and dad said that they had me do was they wanted to see if I knew how to write and what my writing skills were like at the time. So they put a piece of paper and a pencil down for me and just said, let's see what you can do. So what I did was pick up the pencil with my left hand and start scratching out whatever my handwriting looked like at the time. I got to the middle of the paper and I put the pencil down and they thought I was done. No, I picked it back up with my right hand and finished writing out what I was doing with my right hand for the rest of the paper. So whoever was in charge of evaluating me told my parents, he's not ready for school yet because he can't decide which hand he wants to write with. So they held me out of school for a year because of that. So then I was a 6-year-old going into kindergarten and I was way bigger than everybody else. I was bigger than pretty much every kid until about 8th, 9th grade. And that's when kids caught up to me or surpassed me in height and whatnot. But I just think to this day, that's a funny story how I basically got held out of school because I couldn't decide which hand to write with. And now I write left-handed. That's what I do. But if I broke my left hand right now and had to write right-handed, I could pull it off. So in fact, because I have to think about it a little bit harder when I'm writing right-handed, I think my handwriting actually is a little bit better when I'm right-handed because I do have to think about it. But I just think that's a really funny story about how I basically was a year behind you and another good friend who recently turned 40, Adam Juarez. I graduated the year after you guys, even though we're the same age, because of that whole deal. So, but it did, like you were saying with sports, I think it ended up benefiting me because I had that extra year of not necessarily development, but I basically was able to continue playing on as an older kid. So when I turned 18 in the middle of my senior football season, whereas a lot of my teammates were only 17, not turning 18 until the spring or even the following summer, kind of like what you did.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And holding you back because you're possibly ambidextrous is crazy to me, right? And you're saying, if you think about it a little more, you can write with your right hand and it makes your handwriting better. People always ask, are you sure you're right-handed to me? Because my handwriting is so horrible. Like, are you sure you're right-handed? Because I can't even read what you're writing. Yeah. I'm like, well, I just write fast. But that's it, thinking all the way back, and then all of these memories start flooding back around this time of year because of the spring and because of all the feelings that we had when we were graduating, or as a teacher, you are going off into the summer. And it's always one of the best times as a teacher because it's that feeling of accomplishment, that big breath of, okay, I did it. Let me recoup over the summer and let's get going for the following fall, right? Which is why we wanted to talk today about EDU certifications, because of all the hard work that you went through. But before we get started, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves, Kyle. My name is Joe Marquez. I am Director of Academic Innovation for CUE, and I am an educator out of the Central Valley of California. And if you are on the Twitters, you can find me at Joe Marquez 70. And as always, my partner in innovation, Kyle Anderson. Kyle, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Kyle Anderson. I am on Twitter at Anderson EdTech. I'm on Instagram with the same thing. I am a special education teacher in Las Vegas. And then you could also connect with me through my blog, andersonedtech.net. And then I have a book titled To the Edge, Successes and Failures Through Risk-Taking. You can find that on Amazon, on barnesandnoble.com. You can get it through my publisher, EduMatch Publishing, along with a lot of other great educational books. So many great authors out there. Friends of the show like Brent Coley, Dr. Sarah Thomas. It's her brainchild, the publishing company. So just a great organization, great publishing company. So, and yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this stuff. So we have this great list of different EdTech tools where you can work to get certified or become an ambassador for those tools. And just looking at the list that we have, we were comparing beforehand which ones that you and I have actually earned certifications for. And the list is long for both of us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I want the listeners to understand, like, I understand the drive to collect badges. I understand the drive. I see people grabbing the badges, putting the badges under their signature, those kinds of things. That's fantastic. But the idea here is becoming more invested in a tool that serves a purpose in your classroom. A tool not to collect the badge, but a tool to learn more about, to get involved in that community because you truly believe in that tool and the purpose of that tool. And so that's what Kyle and I are going to be talking about, is the certifications that we have gotten and kind of how to get there and why we decided to go down this path. And so maybe early in my career, I loved collecting badges, but now in my career, I only look into tools that I really find a benefit in, or maybe I just want to learn a little bit more about them. And the best way to do that is to kind of go through their level ups. So I want to talk about one that when I truly discovered this, it was a game changer in my science classroom and in our science department. And so I really got invested in trying to figure out how to get involved more in this community. And that is Nearpod. I started getting involved with Nearpod back in 2014. I stumbled across it, surprise, surprise, at a CUE conference. You go to one of those sessions that says, 10 tools in an hour, and they go through all these different tools, and Nearpod was one of them. And one of the things that really caught my eye was that you can, beam your screen to the student's screen, right? And then when you hit next, their screen goes to next. It was the first time I'd ever seen anything like it. And so I really dove in deep with it and started contacting the community and be like, hey, is there any extra lessons I can go through, any this, any that? And they said, actually, yes, we have 4 different types of certifications. We have the Nearpod Certified Educator, level 1, level 2. We have a Nearpod Trainer, and then the top one is a Nearpod Pioneer. And so I went through the level 1 and level 2. I really liked it. I became a certified Nearpod Trainer. And then I joined their Pioneer program, which is, if you're talking about Microsoft or Google, that's like the innovator program of this company. And to me, it's one of the best run communities out there. Now, I know you're a part of the Pear Deck, and I hope you talk about that, because I want to get to know how to get more involved with Pear Decks. I believe in their tool as well. But I will say the Nearpod community, the individuals who run that on the Nearpod side and those involved in it on the Nearpod side as the teachers, great community. And I think it would rival some of the best communities out there. So I absolutely love it. And so if you like using Nearpod, if you like that, definitely look into their certification processes. The easiest is the Certified Educator, because you can go at your own pace, and then you can apply to be trainer and pioneer for Nearpod.
I like what you said about, before you guys started talking about Nearpod, how using a certification program to learn more about it. So because clearly you're going to need to have some base knowledge about a tool in order to become an ambassador, a pioneer, a certified educator, whatever it may be, depending on the program. So, and looking at the Nearpod one, that was my intention, possibly later for this summer, is because I don't know much about Nearpod. I know it is very similar to Pear Deck, and I'm going to talk about Pear Deck more here in a second. But that was my intention, was that this summer at some point to sit down and look at the Nearpod certifications strictly to learn more about it and see how I can use it come fall. So because my co-teachers and I this year, we use Pear Deck because, well, that's what I know, and that's the universe I've been in. So looking into the Nearpod universe is something I do have on tap for later on. But speaking of Pear Deck, so for me, this is their program is something I actually didn't know much about, because I'm part of the certified coaches for Pear Deck, which is a little bit different. And I can talk more about that in a second too. But Pear Deck has something called the Inspirational Educator program. So there's always a play on words with pair when it comes to Pear Deck, and it's absolutely great. So basically what this is a way to, again, show that you are a person that uses Pear Deck, you know what you're doing with it, to let others know that you're a person that can be approached about learning more about Pear Deck. So, and basically what it is that you sign up for it, you attend a quick webinar, or you go to a conference and go to a session on Pear Deck. You share a sample Pear Deck that you made with the organization. You present at least 20 times before you can be accepted. So you can't just go in and say, like, okay, I want to be a Pear Deck inspirational, but you've never used it before. So they actually you need to show proof that you've actually been using Pear Deck. And then you can submit your application after that. And then they do require that when you renew, you have to have used Pear Deck at least once a month throughout the year in order to keep it going. So it's not something just like once you get it, you're done, you're for life or something like that. So, and Pear Deck is pushing out updates on new products within their universe all the time. So it's nice to be able to continue using those things, and you can learn about those new things as they come out. Now, for me, again, I honestly didn't know a whole lot about this one before, because I'm not an inspirational Pear Deck user, because I'm actually part of the Pear Deck Certified Coaches program. So a few years ago, I was approached by one of the reps from Pear Deck, a gentleman by the name of Nick Park. I had worked with him to purchase a site license years ago for Pear Deck, and then I've presented at conferences under his guidance and different things using Pear Deck. And when it first got started, he recommended me for the Certified Coaches program. This was something that somebody from Pear Deck basically had to recommend you for. So, and I was part of one of the early cohorts for that, where essentially what that means is that we're ambassadors for the program, where we get information ahead of time on new updates that are coming out. We're kind of used as market research for different things. We're part of we have a Slack channel where we can interact with other Pear Deck coaches from around the world. So again, I didn't know much about the inspirational program because I was part of this coaches cohort. So I would say that this is kind of like you compared it to Google with the certified trainer, or excuse me, certified educator versus innovator. So I would say that the coaches program is more like the innovator versus the inspirational educator is more of the certified educator part of it. So now I know it's a little bit different now to become a coach. I'm not 100% sure what that process is because I've been a certified coach now for at least 3 years. It may be even longer at this point. So, but in the wakelet that we have that we'll put in the show notes, that there is a link there on how you can become a Pear Deck inspirational educator. And then if there's a time later on in a future episode, after I learn a little bit more about maybe how to become a coach, if you're like a Pear Deck super user, maybe I can share something like that as well.
Yeah. And Pear Deck is one of my favorite tools to hack, Kyle. There's always something that you can do to tweak this or tweak that. So I love that. But because Pear Deck is coming out with so many different updates, a lot of the hacks become obsolete, which we're proud of, right? When a hack becomes obsolete, that means, we were out there trying to figure it out, as they were. So that's good to know.
Well, and then Pear Deck actually just teamed up with GoGuardian as well. So now you're going to have different things that are going to be molding together between those two companies as well. So GoGuardian, if you were unaware, it's on the surface, it's basically some people call it a Big Brother program where you can watch other students' screens and whatnot. But there's so much more to GoGuardian. Yes, you can see student screens and close out tabs, redirect them, but it also has a great messaging system in it, so you can interact with students one-on-one on there. You can use it to open tabs for students that may be having difficulty getting a tab opened. You can go on and do all sorts of things. It's much more than just the teacher is watching you kind of program. So I'm really excited to see what Pear Deck and GoGuardian have up their sleeves in the future.
Yeah, and GoGuardian, I'm sure they have like a certified program as well, right? Because teachers use it and they need to train other teachers. So I'm sure GoGuardian has something like that too. So the next one I want to talk about, of course, is one that everybody loves. Everybody's been talking about this one, especially through the pandemic. So why not get certified in it, right? It's Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a great tool. It works across all platforms. It's easy to start to use and get going. And Flipgrid has multiple pathways so that you can get involved more with the company. So, they have certified educator level 1, level 2, and level 3. And through that, of course, you have to do, the one below before you get to the one above. But it's actually just walking you through how to use the program. And that's what I like about some of these certifications. It's, yes, you get a badge at the end and say, yay, I'm Flipgrid level 1, but you're learning about the tool and maybe some ways to use it that you never thought of. And that's why I really encourage you, listeners, when you go through one of these certified things, it's very tempting to try and skip the video or skip the readings and go straight to the quiz to see if you can pass it. It's very tempting. But when you're looking to get a little bit deeper in depth understanding of the tool, it's really important that you go through listen to the video. Even if you only get to pull 1 or 2 nuggets out of it, it's important you listen to the video and you read the readings because they're there for a reason and they're there to help. At the end of the day, it's not about the badge. It's about what you did to get the badge, not just clicking and fast forwarding. But the Flipgrid Certified Educator level 1, level 2, and level 3, fantastic. There's the Flipgrid Ambassador program, which I'm a part of, which is kind of like the top level, top tier that you can be a part of in Flipgrid. And then there's also a Flipgrid community member. So you're adding to the different activities that teachers can upload to their community menus in Flipgrid. So lots of different ways to get involved with Flipgrid. And Flipgrid, again, has an amazing community of educators and very passionate educators willing to present for them. And Flipgrid loves to send its members of the community's swag. T-shirts after T-shirts, after this, after that. Amazing community. I can't say it enough. And you've all, if you've been to a conference, you've met them before. And one of our absolute favorite people, Ann Cosma, is a part of their community through Flipgrid. So just a great team. And again, I wouldn't have got to know them unless I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. And before, Kyle, before I pass it over to you, the way that I got involved with Flipgrid, again, was I went to a conference and somebody just mentioned it in passing. I believe it was like in 2016 or early 2017. And I added it to my my bookmarks called To Review Later. I do that all the time. To review later. And I would say in August or September of 2017, I had a prep. So I was going through all these different tools that I said I'd get to later. I said, I'll play with this Flipgrid. And I instantly just got amazed by it. I thought it was a great tool, started using it, and then I reached out to them to ask, do you have a certification? Do you have a program? Is there a way to get more involved? And that's when they said, yeah, we're actually just starting an ambassador program. We'd love for you to be a part of it. Can you apply? And so that's how I did it. So that's another thing. If you don't even, if you love a tool, and you're wondering if there is an ambassador program or there is a certification program, sometimes just giving them a tweet or a direct message on Twitter, that's the best way to get involved in their community. That's how I got involved with Nearpod and Flipgrid. So that's a great way to do it as well.
Yeah, I'm also part of the Flipgrid Ambassador program as well. And it's nice, kind of like with Paradeck, that we do get notifications ahead of time on some upcoming updates and a chance to toy around with those updates before they go live sometimes. So, but another nice touch for the program too is that you mentioned all the swag, but just something 2 days ago, I go to my mailbox and there's a card of sorts in the mail, and I open it up and it says, you're invited. I'm like, oh, do I know somebody that's graduating high school, or is there a wedding coming up or whatever? And I open it up and it was an official invite to an upcoming Flipgrid Live at the end of June that they physically mailed us, and then somebody physically like signed it and wrote their name in there to invite us. And I just thought that was a really nice touch, something that it was kind of nice to get mail that I know that it was kind of a form invite that went out to all the ambassadors, but at the same time, someone took their time out to sign that and then put it in an envelope and drop it in the mail. And I thought that was a really nice touch.
No, yeah. I mean, that's those things right there, what bring a community together. And that's why we're talking about this is more than a badge. It's about you get involved in a community of like-minded educators for a tool that you really feel passionate about. And that's, again, that's what we're talking about. We don't want you to go all summer long and just badge it up. We just want you to become more involved with the community of the tools that helped you get through the pandemic. And so we're just kind of giving you some of the ideas on how to do that.
So now shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned, and I also mentioned about doing a program to learn more about the product. So that was one that I did a few months ago, and that was the Adobe Creative Educator program. So as a Google certified trainer, which we can get into a little bit later on, and we've talked about it on the show a few times anyway, we have opportunities presented to us sometimes as trainers where there's agreements or collaborations between Google and other companies and their products to help trainers learn more about those. And one of them that posted in the Google group feed from the Google trainer team was this Adobe Creative Educator program. So I clicked on the link, and it was a great opportunity where it was going to be live webinars where you'd be able to ask questions in the chat or unmute and talk to the Adobe team to learn more about Adobe Spark. And not just learn more about Adobe Spark and how to use Adobe Spark, but really how to create lessons using it. It was the foundation of the training was probably about 20%, this is the program, 80%, this is how you can use it effectively and build lessons that are pedagogically sound instead of just using a program for the sake of using a program. So I signed up for it and went through the whole process, and I had been using Adobe Spark for a few years, so I kind of knew how to use it already, but it was really great in showing how to build lessons using Spark and how to be creative using Adobe Spark, the Spark video, the Spark page, Spark post, all of them. So in the process, you go through it, the requirements in order to earn the level 1 and the level 2 certification were you had to create different artifacts using Adobe Spark. I believe I created a Spark post and then also a video. And then that was for the level 1. For the level 2, I actually had to write a lesson plan that centered around using Adobe Spark. And it didn't matter which part of Spark you used, whether it was page, post, or video. I believe my lesson was on using Adobe Spark video. And the lesson plan I wrote was how to teach World War II propaganda, but in a way that was more creative than just, showing old newsreels or, hey, here's some posters, check out Rosie the Riveter. So where it was on the students more to create videos using World War II style propaganda to advertise something that is an issue today. So it was something that I put a lot of work into that lesson. So probably about 4 or 5 hours by the time it was all said and done. But I was able to earn my level 1 and 2 Adobe Creative Educator badges as a result of that. So, and again, we keep talking about these badges, and yeah, it's fun to collect these badges. But at the same time, now I have ideas for next fall on how I can incorporate Adobe Spark into the class because I went through this whole process.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, to get that badge, you're creating a lesson for your students. So it's not busy work. You're not just creating a lesson to provide to them. You're actually creating a lesson to provide an experience to your students, which just so happens to be a lesson you can send to Adobe and say, here's my artifact. And that's key, right? Not doing things just to get them done, but doing things that will actually help with the lesson planning going forward. That's actually one of the programs that's on my mind to get this summer. I want to dive a little bit deeper into Adobe Spark and into that certification program. Adobe Spark came out after I had left the classroom. And so I'd never got to use the tool as part of my classroom instruction. But that's why it's one of those things where, it's effective and teachers are using it. I want to know about it. And one of the best ways to know about it is to get your hands dirty playing with the tool. And I like the idea that that's how the Adobe Creative Educator badges are gained. So I really do like that. One of the tools that I've been training a lot on, and I used when I was a teacher, is Kami. On the surface, right, Kami is you upload a PDF document and kids can highlight it and mark the text up and do some digital inking, but it can do so much more. But I was asking to myself, what more, right? I mean, the best way to find out more is to use it in your classroom in different ways. But without a classroom, I go, what more? And so actually Kami came out with a brand new program where you can go through all the different ways that Kami can be utilized and become certified educator level 1 and then educator level 2. And so I went through those programs to get those 2 certifications. And now I'm better at using Kami, and I see how it can be used more than just digital inking. And they have one more step up called the Kami Heroes, which is like their ambassador program. So once you get level 1 and level 2 certified, you can put in to be a part of that program as well.
We were chatting a little bit before we got started about how I know nothing about Kami. So the PDF work that I do, I use DocHub for it. And DocHub is more of just a way to edit PDFs. It's not necessarily interactive like Kami sounds. So that's something I'll have to take a look at a little bit further. I know Adam Juarez really likes Kami a lot as well. So now I got 2 brains to pick a little bit when I'm ready to start diving into Kami a little bit more. So now another program that has a certification program, a way to learn how to use it a little bit more, is Edpuzzle. So now Edpuzzle, this is a program that, if you're unaware, you can take videos and then basically implement questions or activities within the video and then assign them to students. So, I mean, it could be as simple as a short YouTube video where you just have the video stop and then ask a question about something that was presented in the video that the students answer along the way. So, or another great feature of Edpuzzle is that if there's a concept in a video that is something that's just really tough to understand, you can have the video pause and then the teacher can record a voiceover that says whatever that concept is, explains it in simpler terms a little bit. Or there's all sorts of different things you can embed into an Edpuzzle video, and then it connects to Google, it connects to Microsoft, connects to Apple, all these different programs. And with their program, this was another one. I was using Edpuzzle, but I'm like, how can I use it more effectively? And are there little secrets that I don't know about in Edpuzzle? So I went through the different modules in the Edpuzzle Coach program and learned quite a bit of new stuff in that program as I was going along with it. And now, again, I earned one of these badges that says Edpuzzle Coach. But again, it's not just about the badge. It's when you display that badge, it's something that a teacher, they see that you have that on your email signature. Oh, what is Edpuzzle? They go to look at it like, wow, I know nothing about this. Can you help me out? So when people get an email from me, my signature line, I have all these badges. And it's not just a way to brag that I have these certifications. It is a way to say, hey, I know things about this and I can help you out with it. And Edpuzzle is one of those programs that I took the time to do their program and now can help people out with it.
Yeah, Edpuzzle is one of those programs that I jumped to after a previous program that I really loved called Zaption got bought out by another company and moved out of the education space. And Zaption, to me, was that go-to video assessment tool. And I'll say it, Zaption 4 years ago, before they went out, was well ahead of Edpuzzle at the time. But when Zaption went out, I go, okay, what's the next best thing? And I was juggling between PlayPosit, which is another video assessment tool, and Edpuzzle. And it was the Edpuzzle community that really drove me to the Edpuzzle tool, because when I was asking Twitter, which one should I go to? Zaption's gone. What's the next best one? Edpuzzle actually reached out and said, we'd love to show you what we have, and we'd love to hear your comments. They actually reached out. And that's amazing when a company is listening to educators and says, oh, we want to show you what our product can do. We want to show you why we're proud of it. And so, yeah, that's what I went to, Edpuzzle, and I love it. And I love the changes they've made. And I will say some of the things you can't do in Edpuzzle anymore isn't their fault. It's because of what YouTube has restricted them from doing. So, like the commentary over a YouTube video that used to be awesome, I can do with students, but you can't do that anymore because you can't manipulate YouTube audio, or drawing on top of a YouTube video to show how things work. You can't do that anymore, but it still does amazing, amazing things. And the certified coach kind of a program, it's not just something you can quickly go through. You actually go through different lessons, and they say, do this and try this and show us that you did this. And so it's actually helps you learn the ins and outs of the program. So it's truly beneficial program. And so when you get that badge, you actually did stuff for it, not just quickly took a test at the end.
Right. And I remember going through that. I mean, that took me over the course of probably 2 days, 6 to 8 hours to get through all the stuff. So you're right. It was no joke. So having you pause to go and actually try the things out as you were going, and then you had to pass the certification at the end. So whereas not to disparage any company that does this, but there are some out there where you just log on and you take some short, simple quizzes, and that's it. And you don't have anything else. So one of those that is very similar to that is the Microsoft one. We can get into that a little bit more. I'm not sure how much I really learned from the Microsoft Innovative Educator program when I did that a couple of years ago, because it really was where here's a quiz on PowerPoint. Just pass this quiz on these 10 questions here, and then you will have passed that aspect of the program. And if you earned so many certifications in different Microsoft products, then you get the MIE badge and whatnot. So, but I mean, again, I learned stuff from it, but I'm just not as sure how much I learned because I wasn't actually doing. It was more of just a rote memorization recall kind of deal with Microsoft. But we could talk about that more in a little bit. Now, one that couples really well with Edpuzzle, and if you're an Edpuzzle coach, you'll know this, is Screencastify. So Screencastify has their Genius program where with Edpuzzle, pairing that up, you don't have to do a YouTube video to use Edpuzzle or any other video website. You can make your own videos and then create your own Edpuzzle with your videos. So Screencastify is a great tool to make your own videos. So with the Screencast by Genius program, that one there, you go through a series of videos that they've created that demonstrates how to use the product, and then not just how to use the product, but using the product in innovative ways. So talking about how teachers can use Screencast to create instructional videos and then post them to a website or into something like Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or something of that nature. So, but it also goes into how students can use it as well, how students can submit assignments in video format rather than writing or doing some other quote unquote normal assignments. So video is a big part of what education should be now at this point. And Screencastify has really been on the forefront of that for a while. So when I went through the Screencastify Genius certification, I learned quite a few different ways on how to be more active using it with students. So I already knew it and was using it on the teacher side and creating videos, but I really wasn't sure how I could use it with students. And the Screencastify Genius program really helped me out in opening my mind up to that more.
Yeah, Screencastify is one of the Chrome extensions that I always recommend IT departments let through instantly. It's a fantastic tool. It's a great tool for Google Slides as well, to easily implement audio and video into a Google slide. I mean, it's just a great tool all around. They have two different Genius programs, right? They have like a Screen Master, like that's the first one you go through, and then there's the Genius one. They're fun to go through because the first one, our good buddy Matt Miller walks you through how to be that's Screencast Master, and then I think Alice Keeler and Holly Clark do the second one. So it's fun seeing all them being able to showcase their talents in this program also.
Well, and not only that, so we're talking about educators doing this. So with that, you got the Master Screencaster program, you get the Skilled Submitter program, and the Genius. You also have Screencast Junior. This is one that's designed for students. So students can learn how to use Screencastify, and it also has lessons in there about responsible digital citizenship. So that's something there that if you're going to be using it with students, why not have your students do the Master the Screencast Junior program and get them certified as well, so they know how to more effectively use Screencastify, and then also learn some lessons on what it takes to be a good digital citizen.
Yeah, whenever a company does the certification process for students, I'm really excited about that. That's why when Google started to do student certifications, I got really excited also. I know Adam Juarez created his own student certification process for his students, and he printed out a certificate for them, but it was nothing official from Google because if I was thinking to myself, I could get my students to pass the Google Certified Educator Level 1. How amazing would it be if I can get all of my students in my classroom certified in Educator Level 1? But you can't. You have to be a teacher, and you have to be, above 18 or something like that. So I couldn't do it with my students. So when a company allows for you to actually put your students through some of those things, I think that's pretty cool. So the way Screencastify has that junior program, I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So I honestly did not know about the Screencastify Junior one until I was just on their website looking at the info on Genius and Master Screencasters. So now I did mention Microsoft, their Innovative Educator program here a couple of minutes ago. So, and again, my experience with it was a few years ago, and it was a lot of quizzes on different Microsoft products where you earned points with it. And after you earned so many points, that's when you earned your MIE expert or your Innovative Educator badge with it and whatnot. So now You and I are very open about how we're more Google people. So I've worked in a Google district now for a long, long time. So the Microsoft universe is a little bit foreign to me at this point. So, and friend of the show, Tyler Keefe, he's in a Microsoft district, and he has talked about wanting to do an episode that focuses more on Microsoft. And I think, Joe, you and I should turn the reins over to him and let him run an episode one day to talk about this a little bit more. So just so we can be a little bit more equitable in regards to the Google and the Microsoft universes. So, but with the MIE Educator program, so the base one that I did was the Innovative Educator. Again, you go through, you pick and choose a series of quizzes on Microsoft products that usually it's a handful of multiple choice style questions where you go through, you answer these, and when you pass the quizzes, I believe you got to have an 80% of the quiz in order to earn the points for that quiz. Then you can move on to do another one. So, and each quiz is worth X amount of points. And then after you get, I want to say it's 800 points, maybe 1,000 points. Once you've earned that many points, that's when you can earn the badge that's on there. So, but then there's also ones that are above just the Innovative Educator. There's also the Microsoft Innovative Expert as well. So, and that's kind of like the, if you're talking about the Google universe, certified level 1, certified level 2, certified trainer, certified innovator. Okay, Microsoft has their levels as well. So expert, from the way I understand it, is more of like the Google certified trainer. And then there's a level even above that where that's more of like the certified innovator, but in the Microsoft universe.
Yeah, what I do like about the Microsoft pathway is you do get to choose, and they're always adding more to their Educator Center community, so that you can learn more about products and things that are coming out. Like I love to go in there and dive into their accessibility features whenever they have new ones coming through. Microsoft just announced new reading tools that helps level up your students' reading capabilities. I really want to dive in deep with that to see how that works and how that is used. So I do love the fact that their pathway is almost to choose your own adventure. But when you take the test, if you don't pass it, you can instantly take it again. Right. And that kind of drives to the point where if you're not in there truly trying to learn something new, if you're just trying to get points, you can go down and take the quiz, not pass it, but know what you should go back and take it again until you hit that 80. And so I don't like that aspect of it. I wish they would say, sorry, you didn't pass this. You come back in 48 hours or something. And take it again. Then it wouldn't, kind of drive people to read more through it. But again, what we're trying to say here is, you're trying to better yourself to learn how to use these things. So why not take the time to listen and watch the videos and go through it? And so if you actually do that, then more power to you when you pass that test. But in the Google realm, it's a little bit more skin in the game, right? Because you have to pay to take the level 1 test. It's only $10. Pay to take that level 1 test. And if you don't pass it, I think it's 3 months, maybe. You can't take it again for 3 months or something like that.
It's 14 days for the first time you fail it. And then if you fail it a second time, then it's, I believe it's 3 months. And then if you fail it the third time, then it's a year before you can take it again. So yeah, there's a little bit, like you said, skin in the game on that one. And then I feel that the Google one as well, you do have the series of questions that are more multiple choice, choose from this list in nature. But then you also have to demonstrate your learning through a series of tasks and activities. So it's 11 or 12 different activities where they give you these scenarios, and then you have to demonstrate your skills using various Google tools on those tasks. So it could be something as simple as creating an email in Gmail and then inserting a link from Google Maps into the email. Or it could be as involved as creating a simple website using a series of documents and images from a Google Drive account that you have access to during the exam. So I'm all about the demonstrating the knowledge through doing, not just spitting it out. Because, like you said, with the Microsoft ones, I did learn some things about different Microsoft tools as I was doing it, but again, it was, I distinctly remember failing a couple of the quizzes, like getting a 70 instead of the 80 that was required. And then just instantly going back, retaking it, and it was the same questions. And I remember which one I got wrong. And then I'm like, oh, well, this is the answer then. And then getting it right, getting my 80, and then earning those points to move on in the program. So I feel that if there was a little bit more of demonstrate what you know versus just spit out what you know, I would be more apt to recommend that program a little bit more. But again, if you're in a Microsoft district, it is a no-brainer that you would go through and do this. So, or move up to the MIE trainer or MIE expert, like Google has their trainer and innovators programs.
Yeah, and again, if you're a Google school, go after the Google levels. If you're a Microsoft school, go after the Microsoft levels. But make it an event, not just for yourself, but for your staff. Really convince your administrators on the power of those kind of levels and certifications. And what I did was I convinced my administrator. I said, hey, let me put on like 5 1-hour sessions on how to take this, on how to go through all the Google stuff to get level 1 certified. And I said, if somebody shows up to all 5 sessions, can we pay for their test? And then if we pay for their test and they pass, can I have a budget to get stickers made for their doors? And they said yes all the way through it. So I would do lunchtime options or after school options because I wanted to make sure my teachers had all the best opportunity to do this. And those that came all 5 times got their test paid for. Majority of them passed. And so I just went on Sticker Mule with the badge that you get when you're done. And I had Sticker Mule print some up for me. And I went around, gave it to them, and they put it on their front door. And so when parents would come by, they go, oh, you're Google certified. Because parents, they don't know how many different levels of Google certification there are, right? So they go, oh, you're Google certified. Oh, you must know all the Google. It really kind of amplifies the confidence of the parents that the teacher has the skills to use these tools. And it was great. So I highly recommend if you are in a position to put PD on for your staff and something like that, negotiate with your admin some cool things that you can give to your teachers when they pass.
One thing that we haven't really mentioned yet is we've talked about these different programs and the badges you can earn and the knowledge that you gain and the application of said knowledge, whatever, is the impact it could potentially have on you getting promoted or getting a job somewhere. So with my time over the last couple of years where I went from my current district, moved away from there, and then moved to Carson City, Nevada, and worked in that district for 2 years before returning to Las Vegas and returning to the district I worked at for 13 years prior, is that when I was applying for positions in Northern Nevada, one of the things that I put in my resume was that I was a Google certified educator, level 1 and 2. I put in there that I was a Pear Deck coach. I put these different certifications in my resume. Now, some admin may look at that and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then others are going to look at that and like, wait a minute, tell me more. It's going to be a talking point in the interview. And when I interviewed for my position in Carson City, it was a talking point, the Pear Deck one especially. When I interviewed for my current position in Las Vegas, when my principal saw a Google certified trainer in there, that was a talking point. And she was aware of what trainer was, but she wanted to know what my abilities were and then how could benefit the school and the teachers and students in the school having that certification. And I don't want to say that being a Google certified trainer got me those jobs. I don't want to say that at all, but it definitely enhanced my talking points in the interview process and was helpful in the decision-making process for those admin when it came time to hire somebody. So if they were looking at me and another candidate, very similar skill set, similar experience, but then that Google certified trainer, I have that and the other person didn't, I like to think that that helped me out in that process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, these things, these skills provide confidence to future employers or your current employers that you have the drive to be the best user of these products and that you are willing to share that knowledge and enthusiasm with other teachers. And that helps drive the confidence of the use of these tools on campus. And all of these tools, hopefully, not all of them, but some of these tools hopefully helped you get through the pandemic. Maybe Flipgrid got you through this. Maybe Screencastify got you through this. Maybe Pear Deck or Nearpod. Maybe one of these tools got you through it. And you're like, I just want to know more. I want to get more involved with this community. Or because it got us through this, our district is now buying a full license for this. And I want to be the go-to person in my district, right? That helps amplify your skill sets and maybe your notoriety across your district also, because that's what these can do. And they're free. But I want to quickly transition because I know we're getting to the hour mark. I want to transition to 2 other certifications that can really amplify your credibility in a district, but they do cost money. So one of them is the Leading Edge certification process. So Leading Edge is a great group of educators, administrators across California that helps put together the skills needed for Leading Edge certification of administrators, Leading Edge certification of ed tech coaches, Leading Edge certification of teachers. And so it'll let you go through all the different skill sets to become great users of technology for the use of administration or this or that. Traditionally, it used to be a face-to-face program, but they created a program through Ludo that once you get invited to this program, you get up to a year to complete as many certifications as you want, and do it in your own time, which I think is very important. I love the fact that they give you an entire year to get certified, and you can just get Leading Edge certified. You can get Leading Edge certified and Leading Edge administrator. So you can do all the certifications you want. You just have to go through it. And they also require artifacts, which I think is incredibly important. It's not just a series of tests so that you get this badge. You actually have to prove that you've learned something and have something to produce. Kyle, have you heard of Leading Edge certification?
Oh, this is actually the first time I'm hearing of it. So I'm interested to hear what you learn from it as you start diving into that a little bit further, because like I said, I mean, this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great program, and again through a Ludo, and so it gives you micro badging as you go along the way when you pass different levels. Which, if you know anything about gamification and studies of gamification, by providing badges along the way, you're more likely to earn the big badge at the end because you're getting these little micro badges. So that's a cool thing there as well. And the last one I want to talk about, again, which you can put on your resume and it could possibly amplify you in the job search process or on your campus, is ISTE certification. But this one is quite pricey, Kyle, depending on who you get it through. It can be $600 or $800. It's a pretty pricey program. And it uses a combination of synchronous and asynchronous work. I know Adam Juarez is going through the program. I went through the first part of the program, but I just didn't have enough time to do the portfolio. And it's not because they don't give enough time. It just so happened that my portfolio time fell into when I just started my job with Q, and trying to juggle all the new things to do with Q and also getting all these things done for the ISTE thing. I couldn't do. They do have a way that you can extend when you could turn your portfolio in, but that extension does cost money as well. So that's another one you can get, ISTE Educator certification, but it's a pretty pricey program if you go through it.
Yeah, and a couple that I wanted to mention real fast. So if you are not looking to spend a lot of money on a certification, you want something that will deepen your skills on some things. A couple different are the Apple Teacher one. That's another program. So if you're in a school that uses Apple products, whether that's iPads or iMacs, whatever it may be, the Apple Teacher Learning Center is a place where you can go to demonstrate your skills and knowledge in regards on how to use different Apple products. So this was another one. It's similar to the Microsoft one when I did it a few years ago, where it's a series of quizzes on different Apple tools where if you don't pass it, you can go back and redo it, and then you can get the certification. So, and because things in the Apple universe and the Microsoft universe are very similar, so like Keynote is very similar to PowerPoint. So a lot of what I was tested on when it came to the quiz on Keynote. I was able to do it simply because I know how to use Google Slides and Microsoft PowerPoint. So again, like that Microsoft one, I'm not 100% sure how beneficial it really truly was for me. But at the same time, though, I also was able to demonstrate that I knew how to do a lot of these things. So if someone does have a question on, hey, I'm trying to do Keynote on my iPad and I don't know how to do this, can you help me? There's a good possibility that I can help a person out with that as a result. So the Apple Teacher Program is a good one. And there's actually two different strands for that. There's Mac and there's iPad. So you can actually get certified in both pathways with that. And then the other one that while we were going through these different things, one that kind of popped up in my mind as we've been talking is my school district is a Canvas district. And in fact, we just got a notification the other day that the Google admin for the school district will be disabling Google Classroom starting in August, to where nobody will be able to use Google Classroom at all because we are going to be using Canvas 100% now. So this past year was kind of I don't want to say a slow roll because we were all pretty much required to use it, but Google Classroom was still open. So a handful of teachers would use it for supplemental things and things like school clubs and whatnot. But now that's not going to be an option. So I was thinking, is there a Canvas certified educator program? And lo and behold, there is one. There's actually a K-12 certified educator program, and there's a higher education one. And just opening it up and looking, there are all these different cohorts that are coming up here in June. So according to the website here, starting on June 21st, there's a cohort on the foundational frameworks of using Canvas in the classroom. And then starting in August, then there's one on engagement strategies, then personalized learning, transformational practice. So there's all these different cohorts that are going to be opening up over the next few months in order to have people go through and learn more about Canvas, how to use it effectively, build lessons within the LMS, so on and so forth. So I'm taking a look at this, and I think it's something I really want to maybe look at deeper, especially because Canvas is something that we're going to have to be using. My principal already asked me the other day if I would be able to help lead professional development before school starts for teachers new to the district coming into our school to help them learn Canvas, because last year we kind of got thrown into the fire in learning Canvas, and the district had put together some required videos and trainings on how to use Canvas, but they weren't the most effective. In fact, one of them was like over an hour long, and I may have dozed off watching it because it was so dry and terrible. And I don't fault anybody for that, really. I believe it was truly more of like we're in the middle of a pandemic, and this is what we have to do. So it was kind of thrown together almost last minute kind of deal. So but I think I want to start looking at this a little bit deeper so that I can actually put together better professional development with my colleagues to help teach our incoming colleagues come fall.
Yeah, that's great. Make sure you put that link in the Wakelet we have for our listeners. So if they want to go through that as well, they have an easy click. And we'll go through all these links because we've been adding them throughout the pandemic. So some of them have changed. So we'll go through here and update it for you. But also, listeners, if we missed a tool, right? If we missed a tool that you've gotten certified in, or there's a tool that you want to get certified in and you're wondering if there is a certification, go off and look and then email us or text us or tweet us at Sons of Tech EDU and say, hey, this is a certification that I'm going through, or this is a tool that I wanted to go through. Because one of the ones that we didn't talk about was the Seesaw Ambassador Program. A lot of teachers were using Seesaw over the time. There's Go Formative or Formative, which is a great, I use that the heck out of that tool when I was in the science classroom. Their community has kind of dropped a little bit since their original community leader, David, left, but they're still a good tool. So a whole bunch of other different things on here. So if we missed a tool or we missed a certification that other listeners absolutely should be looking into, please tweet us and we'll add it to our list. Kyle, anything for our listeners before we send them off to their summer? Because a lot of educators listening to this ended school last week or are going to be ending school in the week to come. So any final words to our educators about what we talked about, or the ending of the school year?
This past year has been nuts, so you need a break, and I highly recommend you take a break. So we've talked about these different certifications, these badges that you can earn over the summer. We're not telling you just to go dive in right now and start just badging it up for the next 8 weeks or whatever until the new school year starts. Take your break. You need the break. You deserve a break. So, but at the same time, because you're an educator that's listening to the show, I know that your summers are full of professional learning and you trying to become a better educator during that time off. So I know that you're probably not going to sit around for much longer, and you're going to start diving into some things. Definitely take a look at our Wakelet and the topics that we talked about in this episode here today, and then share with us what you've learned and like how you think you're going to use some of these things. So hit us up on our Twitter page on at Sons of Tech EDU. And then we've also got the hashtag EdTech Army you can hit us up on. So, and then you got Joe and I, our Twitter accounts, our Instagram accounts. Hit us up on those things and tell us what you're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of echo what Kyle's saying, take your break. Congratulations on making it through the school year. I know it was a rough one, but this trial by fire made you tougher. It made you a better educator, and it made you more open to trying new things, maybe because you were forced to, or maybe because you had the time to look. But why not become certified in the tools that helped you get through this pandemic? So take the entirety of June off. You have our permission. But once you start getting into after the July 4th holiday, start looking into some of these communities, get involved with some of these communities. And heck, if there's a tool out there that doesn't have a community, maybe you can be that educator to spearhead another great community and another great platform, because we know that you can. But thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for sticking with us throughout the entirety of our episodes and through this pandemic. And just keep doing what you're doing. Take your break and then come back full of fire and energy to make a difference in fall of 2021. Thank you so much for listening, and have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day.